I want to welcome Eitan, and I want to tell you, Eitan, that we are with you. You are in Kiev right now, and our thoughts and prayers with you. So, Eitan, first of all, shalom to you. How are you?
Shalom. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing okay right now. I have spent a big part of my life in Ukraine, and now I'm located in Kiev, and I'm ready to tell you about the ongoing situation. In Kiev, in particular, no one is afraid. Community is very united and helpful. There is overdraft and recruitment offices for regional territory defense. Ukrainian military is prepared, skilled, and professional as well. So no one is holding back.
In other words, there's no panic, even though we hear that Russian tanks, Russian army, they're trying to basically cut the city and possibly invade.
Well, yes, we're strong-spirited. We can't be afraid right now. Everyone has to be focused on the mission to help those around us.
And the situation in Kiev itself, there are sirens, bombardments, you're scared of bombs falling on the city?
Kiev and other major cities are being constantly bombarded, mostly at night, but also we hear air sirens around probably 5 times a day during daylight. In Ukraine, there's a curfew from 8 o'clock up to 7 o'clock in the morning, so no one is allowed to leave houses after the sun is down. During the day, some stores are open. Not every store is stocked, so there is some food shortage in some regions and some places. Some pharmacies are also open. Many pharmacists have fled the city, so civilians are doing their best to kind of revive the infrastructure, survive what is happening right now.
Why are you staying in Kiev?
I am not leaving Kiev. My family is not leaving Kiev. I currently stay in my apartment in the city center, in a reinforced area of my apartment. It can withstand artillery shelling and missile attacks, but of course not stronger vacuum bombs or so-called thermobaric weapons. We're staying here because the city has to live. If everyone leaves, what is the point? The city has to leave. Those who protect us after the war is over, they have to come back. They have to come back to their homes, their families, not just to empty houses of the people who fled away.
Tell me, please, what do you think about what's happening right now in Ukraine? Because some of the bombardments and casualties you see with your own eyes, and you also hear the reports about the fact that the children's hospital was bombarded. There are huge civilian casualties in Ukraine, besides millions of refugees and besides soldiers being killed, but you also have children and women killed. So how do you react to that as an 18 years old who lived, I understand, a few years in Israel, but most of your life you are in Ukraine, am I right?
Yes, I have spent the majority of my life in Ukraine, but yes, as you said, I spent a couple of years living in Israel, and the ongoing situation definitely brings me back. I get flashbacks of attacks on Israel, missile attacks, but Israel was never bombed by vacuum bombs. Russia is being quite dishonest in this war. They use vacuum bombs and cluster munition, which is forbidden by Geneva Convention. Those are very dangerous weapons that of course cannot be used on civilians.
How do you view today Russia, because you were actually born in Russia?
Yes, I was born in Moscow, and my mom is Ukrainian. You know, it's actually very hard for me to say this right now, because what I feel and what many people feel who have a connection between Russia and Ukraine is this internal warfare that is happening not only in the battlefields but also in the minds of people like me. So honestly, it's a very difficult question that I myself am working on.
Is it possible to retain like dual identity and plus to be a Jew? Is it a possibility?
Yes, absolutely. And if you ask me to give the precise and exact answer to your question, I'm Jewish would be the answer, of course.
When I see the Ukrainian cities being bombarded and children's hospital was destroyed, and so many casualties and so many murders and so many war crimes, I'm just wondering the world that promised never again after World War II allows such horrific war crimes and unprovoked aggression against a peaceful neighbor to happen right now in the 21st century. And the world is silent. I wake up in the morning and I really don't know if this is a bad dream or it's a reality. What are your thoughts about the world?
A big part of war is actually mental, and in the 21st century, a big part of war is actually informational war. So what is happening on the internet right now, what is happening online, is a big part of the battle. We very much appreciate those who don't silence the issue and address those in charge of the horrific crimes happening on our territory and to our homes, and would ask those in silence to maybe, if they're afraid to have a strong position, first figure out yourself what the situation is, and then address the issue you're seeing.
To my surprise, I hear opinions of people that actually support the military operation against Ukraine. So those who support, they say, yes, there's so many Nazis, banderovцы in Ukraine, denazification of Ukraine, Ukrainians murdered Jews, let them be removed from power. What would you say to them?
The claims you've just mentioned are so nonsensical that it's even quite hard to address them. I'm from Moscow. I have lived in Ukraine, in Kiev, the biggest part of my life. I have always spoken Russian in public. I have studied in a Ukrainian school. I speak Ukrainian perfectly well, but it is very convenient and common to speak Russian in Ukraine. So there's no oppression at all, and there isn't even a ground to talk about oppression. Unfortunately, the nation is very much brainwashed by this fake media and constant disinformation. Russia is putting all the efforts to stay in this regime, to enforce those opinions. So it is a very strong campaign, a very unfortunate campaign that is fooling, that is lying to people in order to stay in power. So-called in Kremlin special operation, which normally people just called war, started as a disarming operation of Ukraine because Ukraine might pose a threat to Russia, is claimed by Russian authorities. That is nonsensical. Russia is 4 times bigger population-wise. It is 30 times bigger area-wise. Circling the country and then invading it, committing very many war crimes, injuring and killing many civilians, that is unjustified and unreasonable.
Are you scared?
I feel like we don't have the right to be scared. Now we fight, now we work, now we help each other, then we may get scared sometime afterwards. Now we have to be focused on the goal, on protection of us, our families, our country, our territory. That's the main focus right now.
I want to thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and your feelings and give you a blessing. And just remind you that your name is your blessing. Eitan in Hebrew means strong. You should be strong and your strength should grow, and we should share joyful occasions together, and I hope to visit peaceful Kiev. All the best to you and happy Purim.
Thank you so much. Also, happy Purim. Yes, the holiday comes and everyone knows what this holiday means and what it's hopefully going to bring. Purim is a very symbolic holiday of Jews. It always brings victory over the oppressors and those against us. That's what we're hoping to witness 16th of March.
All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. We will stay in touch.
Shalom to you and the people of Ukraine.
Shalom Aleichem. Toda Rabba.